This work is funded by Welsh Government and the Heritage Fund UK and Rebel Restoration, and I want to thank Carmarthenshire County Council and the Carmarthen Bay and Estuaries SAC Project Officer for being our partners. So for this talk, I'm going to focus in on seagrass and restoration, specifically within the Burry Inlet, Carmarthenshire. Firstly, I want to go over a little bit of seagrass biology. So in the UK, we have 4 key species of seagrass: Zostra marina, Zostra nultii, Rupia maritima, and Rupia spiralis. The latter 2 of which are found in more brackish environments. So if we were to find it in the Burry Inlet, it would be further up the Lough estuary. But I'm going to focus on Zostra marina and Zostra nultii. Zostra marina is our common eelgrass, and it's often the one that you'll see on Countryfile or in lovely videos of seagrass, and this forms these lush, dense meadows of seagrass underneath the water. You can see it has broad leaves, sometimes growing up to 70 centimetres, and it's a marine plant, so it has roots, it has rhizomes, which is like a lateral stem that grows underneath the sediment, of which the shoots then come out of. And because it's a marine plant, it has flowers, it's pollinated and produces seeds. Zostra nultii is the dwarf eelgrass, and you can see it's slightly less charismatic than the Zostra marina. It's slightly smaller, thinner, but it still has its marine roots, its rhizomes, its flowers, and produces seeds. And it's just as important as our Zostra marina, and I think that it's a bit more rugged and resilient. So we find it in more of the intertidal zone. So when the low tide goes out, it exposes it to slightly harsher conditions and warmer temperatures. So it has to be pretty resilient to adapt to live in both that subtidal and intertidal environment. So what does a seagrass meadow look like? I wanted to flash this up because I didn't want seagrass to be confused with this. This is cordgrass, and we find this around the Burry Inlet. So as you can see, our seagrass looks very much like a lawn. And our little mini meadows that we can find around the Burry Inlet look somewhat like this at the moment. So they create this lovely lush green mat. Again, not to be confused, sometimes you can see a thick green mat and it's actually algae, which is a type of seaweed. And a key way of identifying the difference between our lovely seagrass and the algae is the algae doesn't have any of those roots. So if you could pull it up, then it's not going to be our seagrass. So this is what they're looking like out in the Burry Inlet. Where is the seagrass in the Burry Inlet? So we have 4 key places where our mini meadows are found. St Eli's Bay, so that's the main car park, and then you've got the St Eli's Bay restaurant, and then you walk past the groin and you've got a lovely little meadow there. Penrhyn Gwyn, which is just opposite the WCVA wetlands, which is awesome, so it's not too far away from us here. Crofty, so on the south side of the Burry Inlet, and then Burgess Island. But I thought I'd get a small screenshot of Seagrass Spotter. So if you go online onto the map and zoom into the Burry Inlet, you can see all the sightings of where people have uploaded an image of Seagrass Spotter. And so you can see that whilst we have got main areas of seagrass, there is actually a sparse spread of it. Like this is Whitford Sands, and then going around from Penrhyn Gwyn up to St Eli's Bay. So that's where it can be found. Why is it important? We touched on that in the last video, but it's important for carbon sequestration, crucial in a time of climate crisis that we're living through. It's crucial for biodiversity, so for the worms in the sediment, for the invertebrates, so the crabs that live in amongst the base of the shoots, for the fish and crabs that live amongst the leaves, and then obviously for the birds, which is crucial within this special area of conservation, such as the brent geese that come over in the winter and feed on the seagrass. It's important for coastal defence, so it stabilises sediment and it reduces wave energy, and for water quality improvements. So we watched Josh's lovely video. So seagrass is known as a nature-based solution, so it actually uptakes some of those nutrients. But of course there's a threshold level. So if those nutrients rise above a certain point that the seagrass can handle, I suppose, then it starts to become detrimental to the seagrass. What is Project Seagrass doing around the Burry Inlet? Well, we are mapping, we are monitoring, and we are restoring. So here's an image where you can see all of those things combined. So the sort of lovely zigzags we've got there, those are our on-foot transects that Project Seagrass completed with the Sea Rangers. And so that was us going out and collecting point survey data about where the seagrass is. And then we have this little cluster here of purple points, and these are seagrass spotter walks. So we invite local community volunteers to come on board board and help us identify where all the seagrass is. And then we've got a green cluster of points up on the top right hand side of that, and that's where we've been doing seagrass condition monitoring, so looking at the health of the meadow, the density of them, so we have a quadrat there, and leaf length. Our restoration trials are based around at St Ellie's Bay, so you can see the groin that protects it here. And then this cluster is again where we've had a seagrass spotter walk, so people have helped us map and identify the seagrass. We've monitored the seagrass, we've made sure that it's healthy and it's dense, and then you can see our lovely little orange plots down here, and this is where we have been trialling a type of seagrass restoration. Now, how have we been doing that? We've been doing it through transplanting. So this is me. And so we go up to our dense meadow and we take a core. It's a plastic pipe that we chop to be 20 centimetres long. And we wiggle that into the donor meadow, and then we shuffle it back out. And so inside we contain the sediment, which got the roots going down, the rhizomes going across, and then the lovely leaves coming out. And then we just pop a black cap underneath, and that means it's ready to transport to wherever our restoration plots are. And here they are, it's in Ellie's Bay, and you can see there we are kneeling in the mud, about to bury them in. And then we monitor this both to see whether it's survived, and then also hopefully starting to establish and expand from its plot. So how can you get involved? Well, we've mentioned it in the last video, and I keep on mentioning it now, but Seagrass Spotter is a really, really easy way for everybody to get involved and help us and make a meaningful impact for seagrass restoration. And we've had a couple of these seagrass spotter walks, so we go out on the low tide and we take out many people to identify where the seagrass is, and we guide you through how to complete a quadrat, measure the leaf length, and then also upload your sighting online. And to just do a little pitch, we have got a seagrass spotter walk on the 6th of March if you'd like to sign up and attend. And that's it. Diolch am wrando. Thank you very much for listening.